3. Scene 2. Interlude. No dialogue. Having survived the storm, the heroes find that the ship is drifting through a sea of mist, and over which beautiful singing can be heard in the distance. Though he does not say so out loud, the British steward perceives that it is the island of AVALON which they are passing, the resting place of King Arthur and the Holy Grail. Act 3. Scene 3. Ashore in England, at the University of Oxford. The ship has finally arrived at its intended destination, that of the Kingdom of England. And there, they come to the University of Oxford, where the British steward offers them a tour. The British steward begins, saying, "Permit me to give you a tour of Oxford, founded in the 13th century. Here you will find knowledge, like the moon, reflecting eternal truth, not too bright, but bright enough to see by. As we make our way through this valley of darkness, in the hope of reaching our eternal home, of which I think that AVALON is just the doorstep. Here is the Bodleian Library, in which you may find almost anything you want to know. Maps and charts and illustrations, drafted by our navigators, as they return from the distant regions of the earth. Why, perhaps, if we were to take a look, we may learn something about Siam, or at least where it is found in this great world. I say great, but perhaps not so great." At this point, the prince speaks, and says, "What do you mean by that?" To which the steward replies, "Scale and size have many orders. In the cosmos, our world is quite small. Contemplate the heavens and see the stars suspended there. They are of an order greater, stronger, more powerful. Until now, from a distance, we have studied them. They are far beyond our reach. No one can touch them, no one can claim them. They belong to a higher order. Upon occasion, an angel has descended. Perhaps Elias went there in his fiery chariot. The Lord ascended into heaven. This must not be taken figuratively. For as surely as the Lord ascended, so it is he shall return. Elias will be with him, they shall not be alone. Angels will be coming here. Or now that the Lord is risen, this world is part of heaven. See, there are many different colleges. Some for scholars and some for singers. Some for scientists and some for astronomers. Some for those who wish to enter the clergy. Our neighbor King Louis has something to say about that. Then, on a sudden, Saxagon enters, and he greets the British steward. The steward likewise returns the greeting, but it is only by saying out loud Saxagon's name. Saxagon relates how he knows the steward from having seen him next to King William, and the steward reminds him that he counseled the king not to render Saxagon the help he was seeking. But, still cheerful and ignoring the steward, Saxagon turns to the prince, saying, "And who do we have here?" As Saxagon looks at the face of the prince, he notices the foreign manner of his dress. He catches himself, and says, "Wait, haven't I seen you before?" The steward offers to account for the prince, by saying, "I brought him from India." The steward says, "Come prince, vespers are starting. Then we will go and see King William." As the two walk away, Saxagon speaks out loud in alarm, the name, Prince, and finally recognizes who he is. But by then, the steward and the prince are entering the college, to hear vespers and the singing of choir in the chapel. This part of the story is told to you beforehand, so that after vespers are over, you will know what had been happening outside at the same time. As Saxagon watched them part, his attention fell on other visitors, who were, amazingly, arriving at Oxford by coming down out of the sky on a flying carpet. It was Francis and Angela, and with them was their son, Amerigo. The prince had been watching them through a window in the chapel as they alighted, and, while the singing was still going on and before it was over, he rushed outside to see them. They immediately recognized him and showed to him the carpet they had been flying on, and it turned out that the flying carpet was none other than the magic cloak, which he had seen during their visit to the royal court in Siam. They tell the prince that their visit to Siam was for the purpose of arranging a wedding, and the magic cloak was to serve as a wedding present. Before they can say more, however, Saxagon interrupts, and boldly points at the magic cloak, demanding they tell him what it is. The prince then turns to call the steward and chamberlain for help, but since they are already inside and listening to the choir, they remain there and do not take notice of him. Act 3, Scene 4.